Hey guys, we're live again. What's up with Upslope? Episode number 5. Coming at you live. Boom. So we're calling this one, What Even Is Our Lee Hill Series? A booze cruise through time. Basically, we're just going to have myself. I'm Katie Hill with Upslope Marketing Manager. I'm just really here to help move things along because I know you guys really want to hear from Alex Meyer, who's that guy. I still can't get this right. Woo-woo. That guy. So Alex Meyer, lead brewer of the Lee Hill R&D Facility up in North Boulder. Take it away, Meyer. Who are you? What do you do? Why are we talking to you?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Alex, I've been working here about 6.5 years, and I run the Lee Hill facility. So this is kind of our original brewery where everything used to happen. And then when we opened our production facility in Flatiron Park, this became more focused on research and development. So that's my job now. And that includes everything from, brewing small batches of beer and piloting beers that could be released for wider distribution. A lot of the new beers that we've been coming out with in cans, they all start here on a much smaller batch. This also includes spiked snow melt. A lot of that stuff starts here. I'm working every week on new flavors for that. But then another kind of big part of this is the wood barrel aging that you can see behind me. And this is the basis for the Lee Hill series. So the Lee Hill series is focused on barrel aging and unique projects. They're usually a little bit larger releases. Like every once in a while, we'll do kind of small batch barrel aged stuff that you might only find in the tap room. But the Lee Hill series makes it in a can. It's a lot smaller batch than anything we make at Flatiron Park, but they're really special, and we get to do really cool stuff. From sour beer to big barrel aged stouts and stuff like that. So we use a variety of different types of wood to age in and formats. So like you can see kind of over this shoulder here, the big barrel there.
That's kind of hard. It's like a mirror thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a foeder, and we use that for sour beer. And then you can see a bourbon barrel on my other shoulder. And that we usually use those for kind of like maltier, we call them clean beers. They're not sour, but they can also get used for sour beer. That one might actually be aging our Wild Christmas right now. So
Nice.
That's kind of the, where the Lee Hill series starts. We've been doing this for, pretty much the whole time I've been at Upslope. I think the Lee Hill series started around when I started Upslope in late 2013, early 2014. And each one is...
Shout out to anyone out there, by the way, if you remember Volume 0, which was Ferris Fluxus,
Yep.
And it was a collab with Crooked Stave. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of the precursor to the Lee Hill series. So we made that one. And then after that, we started getting barrels from Leopold Bros, and we've had a great relationship with those folks for a while now. We get a lot of Maryland style rye whiskey barrels from them. So we've done a number of different releases with those barrels. Unfortunately, we're not going to get any this year because they've decided not to release it and hold their stock to make like an extra aged super awesome version, but we will be continuing to work with them, hopefully getting some barrels. They've also started malting, so I'm really excited about continuing to work with them. But that's kind of how Lee Hill series started. They're always unique. Sometimes we'll kind of riff on things we've done in the past. The beer that we're about to talk about today is somewhat like that, but still unique. That's kind of the basis for the Lee Hill series. I don't know, Katie, you want to try the latest release or what?
Yeah, if we want to dive in first on the latest one, which we both happen to have right here, and everyone at home, you guys can try this next week. I'm thinking it might even be trickling into store shelves soon, but from the tap room's perspective, we are reopening this week. We're really thankful to be able to be welcoming you guys back. Lee Hill, the North Boulder facility where Alex Meyer is sitting right now, that's going to be opening June 1st, but we do open tomorrow at 4 o'clock at Flatiron Park. So join us there. And then, I think we should dive into volume 24 because as you mentioned, we've been doing this since we've both been around. So like 6.5 years later, we're still at it. So this is kind of what it looks like. It happens 4 times a year. So the colorways kind of change. We do black, maroon, white, and gray. So it just kind of changes. They do look the same. But if you spin it around, there's some cool stories and whatnot that Meyer has contributed to about the recipes and the process. So yeah, I think first let's get to trying this because mine's cold and I'd like to get that way. So let's try it. And then whoever's watching, we would love to see questions and comments if you want to know anything about it. I definitely want to ask Meyer what his favorite Lee Hill series is. And just let's talk through this one. So take it away, Meyer. What's this one called? I'll put it up.
Yeah, so this one is barrel-aged wild ale with chamomile. So what is this? Basically, it's a saison base. We've made a beer like this before and dry hopped it. There's been a number of iterations, and it usually takes actually over a year to make this. But what's defining about this is the Brettanomyces that's in it, which is the wild yeast. So basically, this gets fermented like any other beer, and then we put it into French oak wine barrels. The wine barrels are not fresh, so they're not going to contribute color or anything. It looks just like a normal beer. But they are kind of more of an aging vessel for the beer. And over that time period of 10 to 12 months, the Brettanomyces is what really gives it its character. So what's Brettanomyces? It's a wild yeast that we inoculate in the beer after it's done fermenting and let it go through kind of a secondary fermentation. And this one specifically uses Brettanomyces clausenii, also known as Brett C. And we chose that one because it has pronounced notes of, fruity notes and tropical like pineapple. So, a few months ago, we're kind of thinking, okay, we've got some nice barrel-aged beer. How are we going to finish this out? And we've had a great relationship with Lee from the Tea Spot for a while now, since, Lee used to work over at Avery, great dude. And so we've been working with him for a little while just on using tea in beer. And I was like, all right, I want to use some tea specifically in this beer. What can we make work? So Lee invited us over to the Tea Spot. We were joined by Ryan and Thomas. Everyone over there is awesome.
Here's a plug for the Tea Spot real quick, y'all. That's their logo. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram and give them a visit. They make some really insane stuff and they're doing really cool things for people in general. They give back. They're a cool company. So shout out to them. I already tasted this, Meyer. I know I was supposed to wait and you were going to walk me through, but I just really had to taste it when I smelled it. This is my kind of beer. And for everyone out there, I was talking to Meyer earlier. He knows what type of beer drinker I am. And a lot of times the Lee Hill series kind of scares me off personally as a drinker because they're really bold and really boozy usually. But this is right up my alley. As you can see the color. It's nothing to be afraid of, certainly for the drinker that likes lighter things. I tend to like fruity things as well, and I love sours. And this thing clocks in. Let me put up to the screen here for y'all. This clocks in at 6.7. So definitely nothing to be scared of because Meyer is the king of making some of the booziest stuff I've ever had the pleasure of trying. But sometimes they're like motor oil, and this is right up my alley. So thanks for that, Meyer.
Yeah. Yeah, cheers. I mean, this is definitely a more delicate, drinkable beer. Actually, really great for the weather we're having in Colorado right now, which is really nice and
about to get really, really hot. So this is super perfect.
Exactly. So yeah, kind of back to the Tea Spot. We're tasting this with all these barrel age projects. We're monitoring them throughout, and we're tasting this one, and it's dry, it's lighter. It's not like a big boozy stout or anything. So we're trying to think of what will complement it. And so Lee, Ryan, and Thomas, they had us over at the Tea Spot, and I, as well as Sam Scrooby, our head brewer, we went over there and we tasted a lot of tea, probably dozen different types.
Wow.
And some of this is actual tea, from the tea plant. This range from white to green tea to black tea. And then some others that are just herbal. Chamomile is one of those. It's not a tea. So we tried a bunch of these and we narrowed down some favorites.
I'm going to put up some pictures of chamomile real quick. Sorry to railroad this convo, but I really want people to see that, to your point, it's not actually a tea. You guys, after 24 trials, you picked chamomile, right? Because it tasted the best. So here's what that looks like, you guys. You got the fresh. Well, Meyer, do you want to walk through this? Because I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so chamomile is it's a flower. It's really aromatic. The way that we use it is in a dried form. So you can see in the center photo and the one on the right there, that's some dried flower chamomile there. And you basically, when you're consuming it as like an infusion or a tea, you just steep that in hot water. And it's got all sorts of, medicinal benefits and stuff like that. But I mean, I really picked it because of how it smelled and tasted in the beer. So I was going into this really wanting to use a tea. I'm still pushing to use a tea, but when the right one picks you can't argue with it. So we settled on the chamomile, and after that I did, after narrowing it down, we actually did more steeping trials. So before, you have to figure out how much you want to put in, right? You don't want it to be too delicate or to blow out the base beer. So I probably did another half dozen trials just steeping the beer with the chamomile until we figured out kind of the level that we wanted. And the reason we picked chamomile is that it emphasized the base beer in a really beautiful way. So what I was saying before with the Brettanomyces clausenii, that yeast is known for producing a lot of esters that are kind of pineapple forward and tropical. And so we wanted something that would complement that, but not just blow it out of the water. Because we tasted some other teas and stuff like that were delicious, but you kind of lost the base beer. And I think the chamomile.
When you say base beer, since there might be people watching who want to know what you mean by that, what do you mean by that?
I mean, literally like the barrel or the beer that's coming out of the barrel. So it's like we're taking barrels and we're like, we want something to accent this, but we don't want it to overpower it. So the chamomile should just be there to support the rest of the beer, in my opinion. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Some of these beers that you've probably tried from me that are a little more assertive and big and boozy, they're not about this kind of balance and walking the line. With a more delicate beer like this, that's kind of what I'm striving for. So the chamomile, just you can smell some of it now. It's got like, I'm sure everyone's tried some sort of chamomile, be it in a tea or as a flavoring for something, but it's got this really floral, nice note to it. The kind of the classic,
it's light.
Yeah, the classic sort of like this apple blossom or something like that. But what I get when I put it in there, and Sam and I were talking about this when we were doing these trials, is like you get this pineapple from the yeast, and then you have this kind of floral chamomile thing, and I thought it was like electric pineapple. That's what I was calling it. So
I like that. It's definitely got like I could see that because I get that kind of a juiciness to it, that's like, but it's really balanced with that light, delicate chamomile. And I, for one, wasn't that familiar with chamomile. So of course, being on the sales and marketing side, you guys throw the craziest things at us. And I'm like, oh boy, what's this one going to be like? But you've never let us down. So really, really pleased with this one. Like this is right up my alley. And when I was going to ask you about your favorite Lee Hill series, which I still want to know.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the tropical fruit sour ale. Like that's my kind of flavor profile.
Yeah.
That working with me on the new product development team, like that's the type of stuff I really like. So this is awesome. And it does have that kind of delicate floral balance with the chamomile, which, like I said, I really didn't even know what that was going to taste like, but y'all need to check this out next week because it's real good.
Yeah. And chamomile's not too wild. I know that this is some flower for me
not
to put in there, but it's also like, it's a traditional brewing ingredient. Before people were using hops, they were using spices, herbs, flowers, and chamomile is a big one. If you go way back, the Sumerians used chamomile in beer. So I think it kind of comes full circle. It makes sense that it works with beer. So
and it's perfect for the Lee Hill series because that's our time to kind of flex that creative muscle and go back to some of those old school techniques, right? And when I say old school, I mean like old school, like you just referenced.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And I'd love for you, I know I don't want to go all over the place. I kind of want to stay talking about this beer for a little bit longer, but I do want to talk about the foeder behind you as well, because I think people, talking about cool techniques, people want to know about those things too.
Yeah, definitely. So the one that's behind me is a French oak foeder. We have 2 foeders, and if you tune into my Instagram live that we did a while back, you probably got to see the other one. Let's see, I might be able to.
Aren't they called Bert and Ernie? Is that what y'all settled on?
Yeah, so that's Bert right there. It's a little taller, kind of a yellow tone. This one's got a little more orangey squat vibe here. so yeah, this is Ernie right there. Yeah, and the way that we've been using them is, so Ernie's got kind of a darker base beer in it, and it's going to be more similar to like the wild Christmas beers that we've been releasing. It's a little maltier. It's got some kind of deep stone fruit notes to it, and we've also made this one more like, if you're looking for kind of a classic beer style, it's more like an Oud Bruin, where it's got some kind of funky notes, but it's not as acidic as some sour beers are. Whereas Bert over there is a pale sour base. And to be clear, this beer that we're tasting does not have any foeder beer in it, but the foeder beer often makes it into our sour beers as a blending tool. So yeah, Bert is an American oak foeder. It has Missouri oak. And that one, the first release we did from that was our 10th anniversary. And then I've used it in a number of beers. And it's more of a pale sour base. It has a pretty robust Brettanomyces profile. I'd say it's kind of like we're going for the lambic-esque notes there. So it's like it's got some kind of funky bread notes, but then it's also got bright acidity, kind of lemon rind, that and some minerality. So I've been able to use that blending a lot. We don't have to just empty the foeders and that's the beer. What's nice is that we can pull just a little bit from that, blend it with smaller barrels. God, over there.
Meteorologists have a hard job.
Yeah. So then we can get kind of the profile we want, because you don't always want, it's great straight out of the foeder, but it's almost better as a tool to be like, oh, I have these different things. And that's the art of the blend, right? Is that you can figure out what you want from there. So that's kind of how we use the foeders. They never empty. We pull some beer off of them, and then we'll top them back up with non-sour beer to become sour. So it's just like, it's not quite a Solera method, but it's similar to how a Solera method works. So that's how we've been using the foeders. They're 30 barrels, which is like around 1,000 gallons. So they're pretty big, and they provide a lot of volume for blending and doing these Lee Hill series releases. And then we've moved more towards having a smaller stock of French oak barrels for sour beer, which is what this barrel-aged wild ale came from. And then we have fresh spirit barrels. So those actually lend quite a bit of character when you barrel age them. And that's, bourbon barrels, rye whiskey, like I mentioned, the Maryland style rye whiskey from Leopold Bros. And then, weird ones like tequila, and we'll get some port or brandy or kind of, whatever you feel like. And that's more to get that oak character, and then whatever spirit character is there. Which, one of my favorite ones, you asked me that earlier, the Batch 1000 was a really cool release. That's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum of what Katie likes. It was a big boozy one. It's 17.5% alcohol, but it aged in bourbon barrels for a year. And actually, we've held on to a small stock of that. I tasted some 2 weeks ago, and it's crazy. So it's basically been in oak for over 2 years now, and some of them got transferred to a new barrel. So they were originally in bourbon and then went to rye whiskey, or they all started in bourbon and then some went to rye or brandy. So we're going to have some really funky ones. I don't know if there'll be a Lee Hill series, but you might get to try a keg on draft or something like that.
Right.
So yeah,
Hi to the Crosby Hop Farm crew, by the way. Thanks for joining us for a little bit. Meyer, you're wearing the hat. So I was going to say, is this picture behind me? Are these Crosby hops? Maybe not. I know it's a picture I think Molly took. Molly's our awesome graphic designer and social media coordinator. So I hope she's watching. She usually is. But yeah, I think that was, I don't know where those hops are from.
I think those are fresh hops because I can see a leaf up there. So they don't look kilned or anything, but love Crosby hops. I went down there during hop selection this last year. But yeah.
Yeah, our friends at Crosby are awesome. Thanks for watching, y'all. They're actually a fellow B Corp, so we would love to do a collaboration with the Crosby team because
Definitely.
B Corps are super strong. We're only getting stronger. We're stronger together. So that's in the works, y'all. At some point, we're going to do a beer with Crosby and maybe New Belgium, and there's plenty of other breweries who are B Corps right now, but we would love to do that. And Meyer would be the man with the plan because he's the guy we turn to when we're like, hey, we have a cool idea. Make it cooler.
Yeah, all the collab beers too. I'm here for that.
All right, here we go. Can we make this official? I feel like this is maybe like a virtual call out. I think, Meyer, we need to take this up the chain and make this happen. And Zach, if you're the one typing all this, or Elizabeth over at Crosby, let's connect because we should do this. I think the world's been waiting for this. So yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm down.
Nice. You heard it here, folks. Meyer's down. I love it. Yeah. So Meyer, I think you alluded to this a little bit when we started, but Meyer is our flavor DJ when it comes to our craft hard seltzer brand, Spiked Snowmelt. So that's a total tangent. But we do love working with Meyer on all of the flavors he's coming up with. But if you're watching now and you've got a cool idea, put it in the comments. Crosby, you can throw in too. I know we're talking about seltzer now, but I know y'all are engaged. So if y'all have ideas for seltzers, any idea, I kind of always take to Meyer anyway. Meyer and Sam, I'm like, all right, I'm from the marketing arm, right? What do the people want? And then they're forced to figure out what makes sense. So yeah. So Meyer, thanks for all that you do here at the brewery.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually barrel aged a seltzer too. So I don't think it's been on tap yet because of COVID-19, but we'll see.
Crosby, thank you for participating. Just said add hops. Funny you should say that because we 100% already do add hops. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I know it's a major aside, but it's worth bringing up because I don't know how many other people are doing it. It's kind of cool. I love those snow melts, personally, the ones that have hops.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we were first doing flavor trials on our seltzer, we were, just kind of figuring out what worked. And one of the things we tried was a hop oil extract. And it was really kind of on a whim. I don't know if we expected it to be sort of what we were looking to make, especially because we had an idea of what a seltzer should be. But when we tried it, we were like, oh, this is awesome. It ties it into, what we're doing as a craft brewery. And so, we have a few flavors with hops in them. The tangerine and hops is the original one I'm talking about. And then we have the grapefruit and hops. And what I found is that with citrus flavors, hops just make sense, right? Like they just bring it all together. They add that kind of, je ne sais quoi that you would not be able to identify, but like without it, it's just like, oh, it makes it that much more fruity and citrusy. A lot of people think it adds kind of like that pith and zesty character. So it just rounds it out. And it's been pretty fun to work with the hops, especially in an area where not as many people are doing it. But yeah, I've been enjoying that.
Yeah, well, I've been enjoying all of the ideas you've come up with too. So thanks for doing all that because I'm not a full-on convert. I've been in beer for what, like 12 years at this point, I think. I still I'm a beer girl at heart, but I appreciate the seltzer game that you've helped raise for us. We have a kind of an interesting question that I want to put up here for you though, because this is just kind of weird and outside of the box. Mr. Meyer, if you were a beer, what kind of beer would you be? I have no idea what you're about to say, but you're a man who's good with your words, so do it for us. Tell us what kind of beer you do.
I don't know. That's tough because, like, is it like, oh, what beer do I like the best? You know,
Beer. No. What would you do?
Sure, that's not an easy one there, Ryan. But
I would be like a Goza because I'm kind of salty.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it itself and what kind of beers I like to make, but I definitely maybe some kind of lager, and I'm thinking maybe it's just because I like efficiency and
things that taste like
lagers are well made, and I don't know, and you have more than one of them. I don't know.
It's a weird question. I had to put it up there, right?
No, I like it. Thanks for that one, Ryan. I appreciate it. But yeah, maybe some kind of lager. I'm sure it changes with my mood. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, that's why I'm always like, I have been asked that question personally, and I thought it was pretty easy for me to answer. I was like, oh, it goes to for sure. Yeah. But also, I really love Brett beers, and for some reason, I feel kind of Bretty. I feel like I would be a Brett beer. I don't know why I feel that way. It's kind of a little funky, yeah.
That's and right.
Tastes delicious. So I'd want to be a beer that tastes good, right?
Oh, definitely. You wouldn't want to be a bad beer.
Well, here at Upslope, we don't make bad beers, so it's a good thing. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about from Lee Hill series? Like, I wanted to post a picture of you actually when I was at Lee Hill the other day, taking some pictures of you brewing the Colorado Strong beer.
Yeah.
You were doing something really strange with wildflowers that you and your girlfriend had picked. And I just thought that was really cool and speaks to exactly what your role is about. Like pushing the envelope, doing creative things. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the weirder things you've done or?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess part of my job is doing things that I don't know what they're going to end up being used for. It feels a little weird at first because you're like, well, what are you even going to do with this? But some of the biggest breakthroughs I found are just like trying stuff out and experimenting. And what you saw the other day was I guess you had walked in while I was inoculating the work or something like that. But basically, for the past 2 years, I've been messing around with kind of like pulling different microorganisms from the environment around where we live here, and specifically like the foothills, the Flatirons, some places I like to spend time. So I had just taken some sweet wort, which is basically sugar water that doesn't have hops in it yet. The reason I did that is so that I wouldn't inhibit any lactic acid bacteria, and just steeped some flowers and other flora that were gathered by my girlfriend Lindsay up in the Flatiron.
Thanks for foraging for one of our potential new beers.
I'm just trying to see what kind of yeast and bacteria were on those flowers and pine boughs and other grasses and stuff like that. And so after that, I brew a beer that has very dextrinous wort, so it's not very fermentable. And what that does is it allows those organisms a lot more time to just slowly chew on that sugar over time in the barrel and develop more complex flavors. So I've got one set of barrels that's over a year old now, and then one that I just did at the beginning of the month. And then I'm hoping to do another season, next year, and eventually we'll start to blend those together and see if it's anything worthwhile. But that's just kind of an experiment. And,
you're always experimenting up at the brewery. That's what I like about visiting you.
Yeah, exactly. And I see another comment here from Jamie, and she was asking about the koji experiment. And I don't
find that. I want to. Let's put that on the screen for peeps. There we go.
Yeah,
Jamie, that is an awesome question. So tell us.
Don't know about that at Upslope yet.
I don't even know about it.
Yeah, so I've been growing koji on pearl barley in like a little fermentation chamber that I made here.
Tell the viewers what koji is.
Exactly. So koji is any number of like sporulating molds. It's a fungus. Aspergillus oryzae is kind of the most common one, and it's been used for a long time in East Asia for making sake and miso, amazake, mirin, shoyu, soy sauce, all sorts of stuff. So basically, it's a perfectly healthy mold for us to consume, and you just grow it on some sort of starch. I'm doing pearl barley, which is just like a dehusked, polished barley. Traditionally, it's on rice or wheat, or you could do all sorts of things. And it kind of fulfills the role of malting in brewing. So I'm not quite sure how it'll apply to us as a brewery. In malting, you steep the grains to activate amylase, which is an enzyme that can break down the starches into fermentable sugar for the yeast. And with koji, the koji does that. It has a ton of amylase and protease, which is a protein enzyme. So it can break all that down into fermentable sugars, and it can break down proteins into amino acids. So I've been growing koji, and I'm trying out different experiments, and I'm going to see how I can apply it to brewing. But again, that's another one of those where I'm just kind of getting my feet wet, seeing what I can learn from this, and if I can apply it to some of these beers. So
that's cool. Thanks for that question, Jamie. You know more than I do, and I work there. There was another fun question. By the way, I knew this was going to get nerdy because you're the man with the plan. Like I said, it was special. Yeah. You're a traveler and you're a foodie, but I didn't know we were going to be talking about koji today. I gotta be honest. Okay, I like this question too. Again, our homies at Crosby, y'all are the best. Mr. Meyer, as you're being referred to today, what is your favorite hop to brew with, and what variety are you most excited about?
Oh man, that's so hard.
It's kind of like asking a parent to pick their favorite kid. It's like, come on, Crosby, we don't know. We can't answer that.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I think it depends on kind of the beer I'm making. If I was going to go back to lagers, I've really been, I really like the classics like Hallertau, Mittelfrüh, and Tettnang and stuff like that. But as far as kind of like, Pacific Northwest,
America, get aggressive with it.
Oh man, I don't know. It's like
I feel like there might be a wrong answer because Crosby's asking.
Yeah. I'd really like to try some Oregon Centennial. I know that they're doing some cool stuff there with it. I think that hop used to be really awesome and fell by the wayside a little bit with all the new kids on the block. And so I really want to try some of the stuff out of there.
No judgment.
But I mean, that's so tough. I like Azaka a lot recently. I think I've been looking kind of backwards. So like, Centennial and Simcoe, those were cool.
Totally.
They're still cool in my opinion, but they
love Simcoe.
A ways back, and now I'm kind of like, they're still cool.
I feel like I cut my teeth on some Simcoe hops. Like it's like got a spot in my heart, right? I could see why you say Azaka. Isn't Azaka in our 2020 experimental?
No, but I am piloting with it for a hazy IPA right now.
That's why it's in my brain. Yes.
We put it in a beer. I think it was in 2018 experimental.
Yeah. Right on. All right.
honestly, 2020 experimental has some of my favorite hops in it as well. It's hard to argue with Nelson Sauvin, but I think everyone's going to say that.
I'm almost done with this, by the way. This is so good.
I'm glad yeah.
Full disclosure, y'all. I was kind of scared to have to try a Lee Hill series on camera because, like I said, like I'm a little gun shy. I mean, the motor oil that comes out of this place and the booze it's intense. And this is right up my alley. And I will say I have had this can just been sitting out next to me, not cold. So it's kind of coming to temperature. And it's still delicious as it's warming up. In fact, it's allowing me to smell that chamomile a lot more. And there's something really badass about this, and I can't put my finger on it because I'm not the beer nerd that you are, Meyer. And this is awesome. But as it comes to temperature, you really do get that, like, how do you describe chamomile? Because it smells so good. I don't know how to describe it other than delicate and floral.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a tough time with that because when I smell it, it's pretty unique. So it's just like it reminds me of chamomile, right? But it does have it's very floral. I described it as apple blossom on the can, but it was really hard to identify it. Like it has this sort of like sensation to it, and I don't know if it's like it's not like how Sichuan peppercorns make your mouth tingle, but it's like this. It's like when you smell it, I think maybe that's why I called it electric pineapple. Is it like had this sort of like underlying note to it that was just like very unique. But
yeah, it kind of reminds me of like whenever this is really weird, but it's like, you know how smells can tie to a memory. I randomly recently just tried this, like I got some like freebie lotion from this B Corp that I have a subscription to. Long story, but it's like this the lotion smells like oats and kind of almond milk, and there's this like kind of round sweetness to it. I don't know how to put a flavor and a smell into words as well as you could, but that's what I get out of it. It's like it's a kind of comfortable. It's like cozy. I don't know, but yeah. And then there's the Brett, which I like, which is always that kind of punch.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with Brett, I was kind of talking about Brett in our foeder earlier, how it's like more that funky kind of lambic type. Right. It's like musty, which not everyone is into. I love it, but
my thing. I love it.
This Brett is way more just like that tropical fruit. So there's, when you hear Brett, you might think, oh, maybe it's too barnyardy or funky. This one is more just like that pineapple bomb, honestly.
Yeah, and it gives it kind of like
sweetness. It gives it sweetness where it's not really there, because I know this beer is actually very dry. It's drier than any of the lagers we make, but you get all those cool, fruit notes from it, and it brings that kind of sweetness you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, like very recently I tried that freebie lotion that I got. It was like a hand lotion because we're over sanitizing right now, and I tried it out, and there's something familiar between the two, and that was made with almond milk and like oats, and there's just something really great about this beer. And is it a bad thing if I drink 19.2 ounces on camera with y'all? Is that fine? Because it's about
it's better this beer than some of the other ones that we put out, but
ain't that the truth, dude? I mean, I'm telling you, you harken back to the 17 plusers that you put out. I'm like, I'm glad we're not dealing with that right now, because I'd have been.
That's why we put that one in a 12-ounce can, and then when you buy a pour in the tap room, it's only 4 ounces. But
yeah, we kept that responsible for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And, hey, Crosby, we've got the Strata in the 2020 IPA, so I love that hop too. that one, I realized that with Nelson, perfect dance partners. I love that.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So what are some other things, though, that you want to talk about that, like, I so far don't even maybe know that you're working on? I think that's what's cool about this platform and this program that we've started with this episode series, is that I'm discovering things that I was not aware of beforehand. And I would love to know, what is something that I'm not aware of that you're doing right now that you can tell the world? I don't know what the Wild Christmas is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Wild Christmas, I got some barrels behind me. That one is 2 releases away. So we'll probably get another cool fruit to re-ferment that on.
Any ideas yet?
Well, we are kind of leaning towards lingonberries, kind of going off that Christmas theme, but a little Nordic.
I don't know what a lingonberry is.
It's a lot like a cranberry. It's kind of like a Nordic cranberry, but I think it would work really well with the base that we've got.
And that's good for winter, cranberries.
Exactly.
I like it.
We've got another beer in tanks right now. It's re-fermenting on fruit. It's in that tropical fruit realm that you're talking about.
You're thinking of me, Meyer.
Yeah. So I won't disclose too much yet, but it's definitely got a lot of pineapple and coconut. It's going to be really cool. And that uses some foeder beer. So it's going to be a sour beer. And that'll be kind of, look for that in the fall, kind of end of summer, beginning of fall. Let's see what else. I mean, I don't know.
Really cool things to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still doing stuff for the hazy IPA. We got to keep piloting and figuring that out, even without kind of an outlet to pour it, with all the tap rooms being closed. Luckily, we're able to open up in limited capacity soon.
Tomorrow, come see us at Flatiron Park, y'all, starting 4 p.m.
Let's see. We got another traditional lager series that I'm going to package soon. That's a Vienna lager that's been lagering for about 3 months now. That's going to be awesome. What else? Yeah, like I was saying before, I'm looking forward to using some of that Leopold Bros malt. So those, I mean, they've been making their own malt for years now. If you don't know about Leopold Bros, go check them out. They make some of the best spirits out there. And
I second that. We will probably put up a link to their website or something, because Leopold Brothers, you guys are insane. You make Meyer's job a lot easier. You give him the vessel that makes our end product so delicious. So thanks a lot for that, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm super stoked to try their malts out, because they've been making their own malts for their whiskeys, which are exceptional, and now they're going to make brewer's malt. So, that is just going to open up a lot of doors, I think. They make all their own floor malted. So floor malted being like the very traditional method of malting barley. It, has a lot more flavor that way. And it's going to be awesome. Make some good lagers with it, and who knows what else. So I'm very excited for that.
I'm stoked for the traditional lager series, because as you and I have talked, and Molly as well, we are going to create kind of a pretty cool looking crowler label so that people who come to the tap room can check that out and start to understand that this is going to be a repeat thing. We're going to be putting out some seriously delicious lagers. So most of y'all are probably familiar with our craft lager. Sky's about to be the limit with what Meyer's about to give you guys. So I would say buckle up and be prepared for those crowlers, because I'm excited. The art's going to be cool, as well as the fact that what's inside of that crowler is going to be delicious. So we're stoked about that for sure. But another thing I wanted to mention, Meyer, is, so I don't know if you want to just tell people that we're kind of working on a fruit beer, right? But I think this could be a cool time. We've got some people on, right? So if y'all want to talk about fruit beers you'd like to see us make, maybe you can shed some light on what we're doing, and then maybe people could comment or hit us up on social media anytime, really, over email, or tell us in the tap room. But we want to know what are people wanting to drink, right? Like, what are those profiles you're after? Because you guys just made a delicious dragon fruit wheat ale. Was there anything else in there, Meyer? Or was it just dragon fruit?
It was dragon fruit and passion fruit. So,
it was so good.
We've made a number of different sour beers with fruit in them, be it like, a wood aged sour beer or a kettle sour, kind of like our blackberry lemon. But we haven't done as many just like classic fruit beers with like kind of a wheat ale base. And that's what the dragon fruit passion fruit was. The passion fruit's kind of the backbone of that beer. The dragon fruit's more there for color. But, we've also been kind of experimenting with different yeast varieties for making those beers. One new one to me is the various Kveiki strains, which are yeasts that were found in Nordic farmhouse breweries, which
Bart was all about them.
Like something I would put in a normal fruit beer, but they are they create crazy fruit notes during fermentation, so they really complement especially like tropical fruit flavors. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what those do.
So does anybody out there right now, if you're watching, if you have any fruit that you think would be delicious, would we say it's going to probably be a wheat ale? Is that reasonable to assume, or are you going to throw some curveballs?
I mean, it'll be like that, like a wheat or a blonde type beer.
Yeah, so a nice base for fruit.
Yeah, exactly. Just a lot of nice fruit flavor, easy to drink, low in alcohol.
A patio pounder that's
pretty much
forward. So y'all, come on, like get the comments going. I'm so curious because I personally loved the dragon fruit, passion fruit wheat, but I think we're going to have to pivot, and I don't think that's going to be what we land on personally, just based on the conversations we've had as a group. But I would love to hear what people are saying. So far, someone said cherry wheat, blueberry. Like, keep them coming, y'all, because honestly, we're going to we want to give the people what the people want, right? So y'all got to tell us. Montana huckleberries, no Idaho huckleberries. Okay, Sam, you should be on this conversation instead of commenting. But yeah, I mean, are there things that you want to try that after we kind of went through our conversation on Tuesday as a new product development group? By the way, you guys, we meet weekly, several people representing a few different departments, and we talk about new products. So this is your chance to infiltrate our brains with what you want. And perhaps we put it on social media after this and decide to do a survey and crowdsource some ideas, because, there's only so many people live right now, but we want to know what y'all want to drink. So we have a vote for kiwi. Let's cheers again. Boom.
Cheers.
This is so good. I can't believe I'm drinking 19.2 ounces live on Facebook and YouTube. But that's okay. Hey, Mom, look, I'm talking to myself. Ooh, I like this. Tangerine IPA, Pog. So Pog, for anyone that doesn't know what a Pog blend is, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. It's I think it's just super huge out in Hawaii, but it's passion fruit orange guava juice. And
okay, so I was right, because the other day I thought I was wrong in saying passion fruit, and I corrected myself for pineapple. But I'm glad to hear that I was correct initially. But anyway,
it's passion fruit, and that's the Pog. I forget which brand it is. I'm sure that someone else. But that's like the Pogs in the '90s I used to like play the game with and collect. It all came from that. It's like milk.
Really?
Cat. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was coincidental, because I was joking, because I used to have and I had like brass slammers with holograms and like ridiculous, stupid stuff, and I don't even know what I was doing with them. Anyone watching, if you played Pogs, you know what I'm talking about. You had and you had sweet slammers. I had no idea there was a real correlation. I thought that was a joke.
Yeah, I think it was some like elementary school teacher or something was like started bringing in the milk caps, and they started playing this game, and then Pogs were born.
But then how does that relate to the juice?
I'm pretty sure like the juice used to come with like a
lid?
cap, yeah, and then it was like you would use it. Don't quote me on that, but it's very. I mean, go look it
No,
up.
I definitely won't quote you on that, and I will totally look that up. But that, regardless, I'm interested. Oh wait. True story. They used to use POG bottle caps for the. My mind is sufficiently blown. I can't. I love it.
Yeah.
Hold on though. Okay, we're going on tangents because I'm, like I said, 19 ounces deep.
All good.
I really, really want to bring this up, Meyer, and you don't know I'm about to bring this up, but I love this picture of you. I think it's so good, and even more so, I like that a customer brought this to our attention when we used that photo of you for an Instagram live. Somebody commented with a GIF, and I think you're twinning with The Rock.
Something like that, right?
Like, you look like an absolute poet or something. I don't know. Like, it's fantastic. You're a man of many talents, and dressing like a pimp is one of them.
Well, thank you.
I just had to put that up because I just thought it was super great.
It's a good one for sure. I've got.
Why did you do that picture? When was that?
That was last year sometime. I have a friend that now lives in Barcelona, and she's a photographer, and we did a little fun shoot with her. So
Okay.
there's more where that came from.
Well, I'm a looking and I'm a liking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to put that up there because I was looking for pictures of you in my folders, and that happened to pop up, and I was like, this is just too good. And I kind of
I don't have any good ones of you. I'm sorry.
What's up?
I don't have any good ones of you to put on there, but sorry.
They're out there. I'm
Um,
glad you're not capable of pulling them up at this juncture. Someone else, by the way, back to the fruit thing. Our girl Molly just brought up pears, and pears is not really ever come up in PD, new product development. What is your take on pears? Because I like pears. They're like a crisp pear is delicious. So what's up with not putting them in beers enough?
Well, I mean, we did make a beer with pears, actually. It was a Berliner Weiss with pears, and it was awesome.
I totally forgot.
But I think some of it is just the difficulty of getting pear flavor through into the beer. So, there's some ways that, there's a few different ways that you can put fruit into beer. And one of the more common ways is to add it prior to fermentation.
Right.
So that the yeast ferments the sugar and it's more stable that way. Because if you just added a bunch of fruit at the end of fermentation,
you're going to have cans potentially popping off the shelf.
Sure, unless you can pasteurize that beer.
Right.
And that's a way you can add fruit on that end. I think that maybe when you ferment pears, it's harder to get that flavor to come through in the finished beer. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. I think another one might be sourcing, like finding pears in significant quantities. I'm really not sure, I bet if you really
you tell me that you don't have all the answers.
I don't have
Get out
all
of here.
But if you really wanted to, I'm sure you could make a pretty awesome pear beer. I mean, I really like the one we made. I remember having to get the pears out of the tank, though, whole pear chunks, and that was not easy. You probably want specialized equipment for that. I will say that the pears were awesome when they came out, though. So it was like we had pulled the beer off, and the pears were left in the tank, and we had to get them out of there.
We ate
and
them.
The pears that we pulled out were like these effervescent, juicy pears. Like it was like they had been soaking in champagne or something. It was so good.
That sounds amazing. Pears soaked in champagne sounds a lot better than watermelon soaked in Everclear, which is what you did in your youth.
Yeah.
At least if you're from North Florida like me. I haven't seen a whole lot of comments come through, so I'm going to put that back up because I like it, and I like that this goes along with it. Poet or pimp? That is the question. And I tend to agree, Terry. You're right on time. It's so good, Meyer.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
I quite like it.
I'll just hold on to all the other ones that I have, and then you can see one a year or something like that.
Or maybe you make me a flip book. I would like that quite a lot. Well, no, I think we're rounding out this hangout session, to be honest. And if anyone's out there watching still and you guys want to ask Meyer anything, now's the time. Meyer straight up is a globe trotter. This guy's been to many corners of the world. So if you want to ask him anything, now's the time. Put your comments in. Otherwise, we're just going to keep drinking. And that's all I have left.
Wow, you did work there, huh?
I did, because this is up my alley. And I think your aunt is watching us, which is so great. Hi, Nancy. I don't know what Alex's middle name is, and I'd like to know that right now.
Oh, Danny tells people that all the time. He actually doesn't call me by my last name.
Wait. What is it?
It's Brewer.
Stop the madness. Guys, I'm putting this comment up. Thank you, Nancy. Alex's middle name, this guy, is Brewer. So this was destined to be.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's so fantastic. Where does that come from and why?
Where does the name come from?
Yeah, like, is it a family thing, or did they just like look at you upon birth and be like, this guy's gonna make this?
You can. My uncle is right above there. You can see the name right there.
Oh, snap!
Yeah, it's German.
There we go. This is incredible. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. That's so cool. So my middle name is Hunter, and I'm not a hunter in any capacity, but I appreciate hunting. And a partner with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. That's the name, BHA. But I'm not a hunter, whereas you are a brewer. So that's cool.
That's right.
Very cool. I didn't think we'd be covering all of this ground right now, but we are.
Yeah, I didn't either, but you never know what's going to happen on these things, right?
I can't believe they gave me the keys to the castle to be live. That's the real conundrum. I think it's because it was my idea, and they were like, if someone like, all right, then do it. So here we are. And I mean, I think that's all she wrote, you guys. If you have anything to ask me or Meyer, most likely Meyer, comment or send a smoke signal or send an email or join us at the brewery tomorrow at 4:00 for the reopening. And check us out online, because we have some guidelines, right? Like, it's kind of a new time, as you all know. So check us out at upslopebrewing.com. Check out our blog, and you'll know everything you need to know to join us safely. Meyer will not be there. He is a celebrity, and he is protected, so he will not be there. You might show up on another live, because you're fun to hang out with, and you know a lot of cool stuff. So
I'm down. This is fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody, especially your family, Meyer. That's so cool. Alex Brewer Meyer, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheers.
I think we're good to sign off. Are you cool with that, Meyer? Are we ready?
I think so. We've got the rains from Africa behind me here on the foeder. So
I see that. It's like the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to finish my 19.2 ounces of this. Like I said before, barrel-aged wild ale coming at you next week in the tap rooms. Stay tuned on social media. We'll tell you how you can get it. Maybe Alex Meyer will be there from a safe distance wearing a mask so you can get an autograph from Alex Brewer Meyer. Signing off, episode 5 down. Cheers, y'all. Thanks a lot. Bye.